welcome to our virtual open day. We're here with Shillelagh on North Island, and we're going to focus on grazing on this one. And William, if you just want to maybe outline the farm and the setup and what you're doing at the minute.
Really just 120 cows. Seasonal enough calving, I suppose, for robots. Really only calve about 7 months a year. We have about a 30-acre or 34-acre grazing block here at the back, and they're out in the day, then at night, A/B, and mostly crossbred. Well, it is completely more or less crossbred cows, you know. So Holstein and Mount Billiard, and we're introducing a bit of Swedish Red now, but there's nothing milking yet. So.
Okay. And how long have you been milking with the Lally robots?
Started December 2019.
Okay.
So about what's that?
Couple of years now.
Just over 19 months.
Yeah. And on the farm here is yourself and your dad, and
it's mainly myself and my dad, and then my mum would give us a hand. She works out part time, and then my wife if we're really stuck.
Very good. She'll give you a hand.
She'll give us a hand, no problem. But she's her hands full inside. So
good stuff. And what sort of yields are you doing? What sort of butter, fat, and protein?
I'd need to check. It's in around it's probably in around that sort of 7,500-8,000 kilos. Butter fat annually would be probably in around the 420, and protein would be in around the 320, 319 or 318.
So what we'll do is we'll just do a wee bit of a tour of the setup and walk and talk through the farm. We'll take a wee look at the grazeway, and then we'll also take a wee look at the grazing paddocks and just what your setup is there for allocating grass and various different things. So so we're here with the cows at the minute, William. How do you allocate grass, or how many acres do you say again they've got in total?
It's about 33 and a half, 34.
33 and a half acres for the 120 cows, basically 12-hour roto with it. The what way do you allocate grass at the minute? It's probably tricky at the moment,
whatever they eat roughly in a day, like, but I suppose that the run's maybe getting a bit strong, but it kind of went from no grass till a lot of grass till very seeded till kind of starting to head the wrong road again, because it's kind of getting dry. But
we need a little bit of rain and sort of everything to get cut off again. I mean, in an ideal world, I suppose you're trying to go in at that sort of 4 or 5 inches, and then graze out as tight as the as tight as the will, essentially. So.
Yeah, like I suppose, and maybe coming out a wee bit tight there. Although I was pre-mowed a bit there this past couple of days just to help.
Just to tidy it up.
But like it worked actually superbly well last year. Actually, I suppose growth was a wee bit more steady last year, but you're fit to nip them around it probably. And we weren't going around it in 21 days. We were probably going around it in 25 or 6 days roughly.
Good job, so that cycle.
Just put in a new pad. Just I suppose we would have used the road a bit before we started the robot.
Yes.
So I had put in one pad down the side of that field, but you get away relatively well because it doesn't have that wide, like, so it would only carry a quad, I suppose, and then a bit of an extension, and have a wee bit more to do actually the year. Hopefully get it done the next couple of months.
And your feed rate at the minute, what's it running there?
0.275, 0.28.
Okay.
Yeah. Feed rate, like the feed rate in the milking parlour the calendar year before we switched was 0.28, and the first year in the robots was 0.28 annually. So it's the exact same, and we're over 55,000 litres up, you know. So better target, like it's just a lot better targeted, you know. The cows, I never, some ways I suppose I never thought some of my cows would give as much milk as what they would, you know, and probably some of the cows that weren't doing as well were getting overfed. And They're getting mail when they should be getting mail, and they're not getting mail when they shouldn't be getting mail, and that's really the biggest bonus
in the old system.
Yeah.
It certainly.
The cows probably come in to the second year in the robots probably in better nick. They got probably fed slightly heavier. Some of them better cows, and they maybe milk better, but at least they were coming in better condition. And then probably the second year they probably have carried on from that and have milked well, and probably fed slightly heavier over the spring, but probably only 0.1 up spring from the previous year.
Okay.
So like a massive, got a real good response in terms of litres, so it's happy enough, Fertility and everything seemed to hold, and everything seemed alright.
Yeah. So are you getting them good conception rates? Yeah.
Yeah. No, we've completely switched there to just all sex dairy and then beef.
Are they holding much to sex semen for you?
Probably about 50%. Some
pretty good, yeah.
I got 60 actually the year before, but I used off a different company here and I got 50%. So
yeah. Have in terms of access, and I think you mentioned AB, was it 12-hour blocks or 8-hour blocks, or inside all night, or what's
they start getting out 4:30 and stop getting out at 4, I think. So it's really 12 in, 12 out, So
yes.
But really come 2:30, 3 o'clock, not much worried about getting back out.
Okay. Cool.
So.
And what are you feeding here? Is it
just straight silage?
Straight silage. You're not TMR, nothing like that. No. Okay.
No, all the meals through the robot.
Yeah. Okay. And I suppose the Grazeway. How do you find that working?
I was dead on. Like it was. Get used to it very quick. Like it was a heifer calved. The last heifer calved about a week or 10 days before I went away, and I think it took her 3 days getting used to the Grazeway, and away she went. That was it.
Just to get the Grazeway set up, so you're A, out grazing, and B, back in the house. That's probably similar to one of the other farms we're doing, but I suppose the difference is you have the Grazeway here, and I suppose that allows them to go out quicker than if you're going through the Robot Plus. All your grazing's at this end of the farm and the robot's at that end.
Well, they can't really go out to the robot because obviously the main drive into the yard and everything's in the back of the robot.
That's fine. And look then, how's it been switching over to robotic milking with Lely? How have you found it? What have you seen as the main benefits with it?
It was stressful enough now the month before we started, and I suppose 2 or 3 months after we started. But no, it's been good. It was the right move for us, because it was taking upwards of 5 and 6 hours a day to milk the cows at peak, and it was just taking too much out of myself and too much out of my father especially, and he had milked cows in the parlour for 40 years and he didn't want to stand in it any longer. Yes. And I suppose it took a bit of thinking and a lot of convincing of him to get him talked into going the robot route, but I suppose he thought I had to make a go of it, so he eventually let me take the reins and away I went, So.
Good stuff.
I suppose the main benefits would be just really the freedom, freedom, and you're not watching your phone or your watch all the time and worrying about the alarm not going off in the morning or having to back at 5 in the evening, and it's just
the flexibility.
Flexibility is the main. I don't know, in terms of certain times of the year, maybe you can spend that, you can spend as much time with the cows as any other, maybe as you did in the robot, but it's a whole lot more enjoyable. Like you're working with the cows as opposed to blooming standing in a pit, We'll
let a few of these cows in here just as they're coming back in from their grazing. Here, how do you use this, or how useful do you find it? Or
it's great. It's a great job. You wouldn't be without it. And cows in the headlocks or training heifers, cow off colour or whatever. You put her in here and you can you know, every time you're back and forward, you can keep an eye on her. If you're treating a cow even for mastitis, keep her here, she's close to hand, you can milk her and tube her, whatever, like, you know, or you wouldn't be without it, like, you know.
So many cubicles do you have in here? Is this
8 or 9 there, maybe 9 there.
Yeah. So 9 cubicles in here. I see find this useful, that if you have a problem cow, this is where
It's great for training heifers, because they'll naturally gravitate down to the cows, and you just find them going through the robots, and it gets them real used to even walking through the robots and that. And like, it saves you having to go out to the house to gather them up or whatever. Yeah, and then it's just very handy. Yeah, I wouldn't be without it anyway. Yeah. I'm pleasantly surprised how well they've milked now the first 3 months of the year, and even now they're out to grass. You know, only lost 100 litres putting them out, and within 3 days I had got the 100 litres back, and now they're up 100 litres. So they've just taken the grazing. I think they've just really picked up really where they left off last autumn, and probably moving a lot better. You know. So. And even letting them out was a lot better the year. They weren't never roared. Like the first day we let them out, we done as Jacob said, and James, you know, the guy who advises for the grazing, and I threw the silage in at 10 o'clock, and myself and my father was here, and opened the gate up at 11, half 11, and first had to chase the first couple out, and the next thing, over the next 2 or 3 hours, we just let them work away. We never even went near them. Hardly, we're in the shed fitting about, and Japers the hardly roared or that, you know. It was really just like you'd thought you'd let them out the day before, nearly, you know.
Yeah, so just standard out at their own accord.
Well, now once they get out, they kick their heels plenty, you know. But there was usually, like, when they were in the parlour, Japers, you opened the gate high, you'd have heard them in their frailing, you know.
Yeah. Well, on the number of visits per day, I mean, what sort of average are you running at on a regular basis?
We'd run at 3 or 3.1 nearly all winter, and then we're 2.6, between 2.6 and 2.8 there in the grazing. You know, some days it's a wee bit up, and some days a wee bit down.
So you're finding you're getting plenty of visits without having to do ABC setups and
well, yeah.
So
now as the year goes on and the staler they get, I would say I will lose visits, and they might get lazier. I don't know. They got a wee bit lazier last year, although this year it's I don't know yet. You know, but I'm finding I'm pleasantly surprised now this year how well they're moving. You know, I can't believe how well they're moving. Just, you know.
So have you any designs to go to AB, or are you happy enough to stick with A?
Yeah, I would. I think I would like to give AB outside a go. You know, where it's this year, where it's next year. I think I would like to give AB outside a go and see inside, but it'll probably be just with only having the 34 acres. It'll probably just be maybe either 2 7-hour blocks outside and a 10-hour block inside, you know, or something. Yeah. Just.
You still think you'd want to keep an inside block all the time?
Well, I'd have to, because I wouldn't have had to grow enough grass to feed them, you know.
Yeah. So that's fine.
And I think if you kept them outside full time, you'd probably dirty your paddocks too much, you know.
Yeah. The system comes with I suppose the heat and rumination collars.
Yeah.
So it's monitoring the cows essentially all the time. So when they come on heat, you'll know within a matter of a couple of hours.
You will, yeah. You're getting a cow when she should be eyed. Like maybe before, when you were just watching, you know, you were always, I suppose, well, maybe it was starting out fresh and that, but I was always a wee bit scared I was leaving her too long. So probably in the grand scheme of things, it was probably end a wee bit too soon, you know. Mm-hmm. So you probably end them whenever they're off. But I suppose at the start I was trying to eye them early, so maybe I didn't get them. I could always let the bull mop them up.
Yeah. So you
don't
have
that fear now, like, you know.
Yeah. So do you have actually many cows then to collect out there, or is it mostly?
Not really. Not until about March or April time, until the robots are really very, very busy. Probably them shire heifers that probably had time before start to get a wee bit pressure on. You might have to lift 1 or 2 in the morning and 1 or 2 at night, but
it's not really.
No, it's like, well, it started to creep up in April, and I was chatting to Jacob and Morris, and probably thought the milk access was a bit low, so put it up, and within a week it had settled back down again, you know.
Good.
And I put up a wee bit and it still didn't make enough difference, and then I put up another wee bit and still, and then Morris says no, he says put up a half a litre or more, so, and then once I did that, you know, it was fine, and like I lost no milk, like the cows just have to carry that half an hour or 40 minutes longer, but it was dead on, like, you know.
I think so long as you increase it gradually, I suppose, you don't want to upset them too much too quick.
No, probably I moved it 3 times over the space of a week, you know, so I moved it 0.2, 0.2, and then I think at the last I moved it 0.6.
Yeah.
Because I was.
So probably for people who's not familiar with that, milk access would be how often the cow can get in. It'll calculate what sort of kilos that cow's going to produce before it's allowed into the robot.
How much milk she has to carry before she's milked, really, you know, so. You're reducing your milkings per day, you know. I probably lost 0.1 or 2 milkings per day, but at the end of the day it freed up that wee bit extra time, you know.
So it was the freeing up the time that was the big
that and a few too many slow cows, to be honest with you, you know, so.
Yeah.
Just probably having culled hard enough and a bit greedy. Milk price is good, like, so.
That's alright, make as much as possible when it's good. So that's your separation here, so you're using it and using it well. And you, I see, have the ordinary Discovery scraper doing the solid here, plus there's a wee channel taking the manure away. We're in the summertime, how's that running? Are you keeping that just level, or does the washings go in there, or what's how do you keep that moving?
The washings off the floor of the robot, and the pre-milk goes down the drain and through the sump and out in the channel. To be honest with you, it never stayed on, it runs perfectly.
Yeah. So you have your water essentially from the robots going into the channel.
It's at the front, you know, but it kind of
keep it all.
Keeps the whole thing.
Keep it all. And is this weeing out into our tank? Is it, or is it
there's about 18 inches always in there.
Yes. So no, it's just interesting because different people are looking at different projects and different ideas. So you have the channel running here on a solid and the rest of it, and the Discovery 90s working fine for doing that. Well, I suppose a couple of wee questions. I know we've chatted about what you like about the robot and what's good, but is there anything you don't like about it?
There's not a big pile, like, really. You have a wee bit of fear, maybe if everyone leaves the yard, that maybe there is a phone call and maybe there would be something, but to be honest with you, it's not rare. Like, I'm sort of happy enough to take my chance, you know. Like, I was away on holiday all for 8 days, and I think a friend took the calls. My dad didn't take them, but my friend took them, and I think he had 3 calls all week, and 2 of them nearly nothing to do with the robot, and some, like, the electric went out for one, and the other one was a wee glitch, and if he hadn't went for 2 or 3 hours, she'd have milked away, you know. It didn't really matter. That was really it. And so.
And what about call outs at night? When's the last time it got you up out of bed, essentially?
It's a good while ago. Could be 2.5 months ago.
Alright.
Yeah,
not that often.
No, I'd say I've probably had 6-7 calls at night in 18 months, maybe.
Okay. So maybe one.
I used to think, like, we didn't start the calls till the robots were going 10 days after they started, and I sort of used to set the phone down on the table and think, will it ring the night? Will it ring the night? But it just never rings, so I never think of it now, you know.
I think it's a fear of a lot of people when they go in. They hear.
I think I had that fear too, you know, and you thought it was always going to be ringing you and torching you. And I suppose I went away last week to help somebody for 4 or 5 hours, and they sort of said, "Leaving, oh, has it rung you yet?" And it's like, no, sure, it never really rings. So.
What about the backup and service? How have you found that?
Oh, sure, it's just second to none, really. Like, so there's 4 fantastic engineers covering this side of the country, like, and you couldn't ask for 4 better guys, you know. And sure, nothing's nearly too much in terms of
whatever they need done, you get done.
Yeah, like, yeah. You
and
know,
do you find do they talk you through a lot of the wee fixes, or do they come out?
There hasn't that many fixes, but
yeah,
and it has, yes. So, like, it's for their benefit if they don't obviously have to leave and come to you, and it's for my benefit too, you know. So if there is anything, they'll help you and talk you through it, you know. So I suppose that was a fear of mine too, because I wouldn't be that well I'd say sort of mechanical minded or I don't particularly like mechanical and tractors or nothing. I suppose I had that fear with the robots, but to be honest with you, they sort of look complicated, but in the grand scheme of things, they're not that well complicated. Just whenever you sort of get used to them and get to know them, you know. So.
And tell me, in terms of your overall project and overall thing that you're doing, is there anything you would have changed or done differently?
Tanked a wee bit more maybe. Apart from that, probably not a big pile really. Sort of fairly happy the way everything laid out. And
good stuff. And how would you summarise your feelings or the benefits if you were speaking to someone thinking of going into robotic milking? What would you say?
I don't really think I'm selling them, hey, because I'd probably say it was the best thing we ever done. Like, but you know, sure. When you're standing in the parlour 6 hours a day, like, you could surely your enthusiasm can tend to wane a bit because it's kind of very monotonous, you know. And I suppose, I suppose you always, whenever you're doing a big project and spending a lot of money, you always have a few doubts in the back of your head, are you doing the right thing? But I suppose looking at it now, it was the best thing we ever did, you know. So it sort of gave me a bit of it gave us a bit more time and a bit more freedom, and you're not always sort of glued to that rigidity of being in the parlour all the time, and you kind of just tend to enjoy working with the cows more, because the time you spend with the cows, you are with the cows, you know. You're with the cows in the parlour, but
so it's fair to say you're enjoying your work a lot more.
Yeah. The wife maybe gives off. I wasn't in the house that early before, and was in the parlour, and maybe not in much earlier now. But you don't come in fed up and pissed off. You know, you sort of come in happy and content, and you're sort of happy with your work and happy enough. You know, and I'm even spent doing more. Like, I'm AM 100% AA now, and sure, before in the parlour we never did any of that because we just didn't have the time. And robots, I don't think you could look past Lily, to be honest with you, like, in terms of just the reliability and sure, you know, how performance and everything. And if you were to sum it up in one sentence, what would you say is the main benefits, or you're gonna have to give me a minute. Your thoughts on milking with Lily? I would say, like, it's been my most enjoyable year in the house that I've been at home, you know, and it's just been nice, you know. It's just really nice. It's just frees you up. You spend more time with your cows, you know. You used to come out of the parlour and, like, you spent that much time in the parlour, you didn't really want to see them, hey, until the evening or until the next morning. But now they're, like, it's nice, like, it's a joy nearly to work with the cows, to be honest with you. I suppose it's totally changed your lifestyle essentially to a more. I really enjoy dairy farming now, to be honest. I really enjoy it. So, it's good. Most days to hear that. Things don't go so well, but you have real passion, like, you know, you're AN and you're writing and you're doing that. It's definitely a right move for us. Because we get comments that people say that you don't see your cows because you're not in milking them. No, but you're fighting the opposite. You see far more of them. You know more about your cows, and I know more about my cows than ever did. I would say my father knows more about the cows than ever, and he's a complete technophobe, you know. And now you have him on to using the tablet on the robot, and he's fit to go down through and tell me, you know, Japers, there's a cow doing 52 kilos. Like he's even at that now, you know. You know. Yeah, it's nice. Getting out of grass, it's not very long at all, to be honest. In the morning, you could probably have it all done in 10 minutes, to be honest. Just really come in and give the robots a rinse and change the filter, and so that's really it. Cows are all kind of either heading out or already out. Start getting out 4:30, so if you're coming down at 7:30, 8, you know, they're basically all the way out nearly. So. Good. And then really just you have to bed the cubicles, scrape the cubicles down and bed the cubicles, and sure, that's a 10-minute job, you know, best. Like. Yeah. And at the minute when they're out of grass, do you have many cows to collect, or chase out of paddocks, or? Very warm air, they'll be slow moving, you know. If you'd muckier weather or a bit duller, they would, and obviously they're, I suppose at the minute they're in the furthest paddock, so they're naturally a wee bit slower coming anyway.
But as far as actually going to collect and put them in the robot, you're not
No,
really having to actually do individual cows. It's more a matter just
well,
as
what do
you
you
go
mean
and change the gate,
in
or
the evening when they're all back in, sort of way?
like say in the morning time when you come down, is there any after go and get there?
No, you'd never have to.
Or what about during the winter then? Is that
Well, I suppose
heifers or something?
It's just heifers, like we train the heifers from the separation area, and it's just really, and whenever they start going themselves, we'll let them out into the cows, and I suppose whenever the heifers are calving, there'd maybe be, I suppose the robots would be at their slackest, so it kind of works well, you know, mostly.
Good stuff. William, thanks very much for letting us come around and have a chat with you about how you're getting on. Doing a great job here, and great to see you enjoying dairy farming so much. And we're happy with that, and hope you're pleased with your decision. And
I was the right decision. My dad's a bit camera shy, you know, but it wasn't a decision he wanted, but he would probably tell you the same if he wasn't as camera shy, that it was. He can't get over how well they moved, you know, and how well they've taken that, and he would, if he wasn't as camera shy, he would tell you the same, you know. It was a good decision for ourselves, even though he thought it would never work. But
I think he was that skeptical. The last time I was here, he said that he had said that he kept the parlour going because he says in a week's time that's where they'll all be going through.
Yeah, there was a feeder broke, a 40-year-old feeder broke on the Friday night in the milking parlour. And he tortured my head. We're flat out trying to get stuff finished off to get started, and he tortured my head on the Saturday morning to fix it. And I says, could we not limp it through till Tuesday morning? And his words were, he says, I'll be back in here the following Tuesday morning. But the parlour was never started since the day it switched off, you know. And like after 3 days he was switched on, like he seen the cows starting to come themselves, and he was a converted man, I think, at that stage, and I think he realised, you know, we're going to make it work. He seen the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. So, and he was very good, like him and my brother both very good, you know. Only for probably that effort, like we wouldn't be in the position we are today, you know. And us and my wife too. Should mention her as well.
Everyone mentioned there. So look, thank you very much.
No problem.
Letting us come along.
Yeah. Okay. Good having you.